What's up, everybody? I'm back with another video today, and this time around I'll be looking at a group of guys that often goes forgotten, and that is no one else but the kickers for this year's fantasy season. And just a heads up, I'm going to do things a little bit differently here because these guys are such an afterthought. I'm not going to be putting together my own list, but kind of instead going over already prepared projections for these guys on sites like ESPN and just give you my feedback whether I agree with this or not, and just my analysis on the kicker position in general. So let's just get right into it. I'll kind of go over the top 10 guys that they have listed. And number one, you've got Tucker of the Ravens. Two, you got Bryant. Then you got Gostkowski, followed by Vinatieri. Bailey at 5. Prater at 6. Cairo Santos at 7. Crosby at 8. Dustin Hopkins at 9. And then finally Sturgis at 10. So first things first, I know a lot of times these guys go undrafted, and sometimes rightfully so, but I do like to fill out my roster, and unless there's a very good quality backup guy, I might actually use like a 10th round pick or something like that on a kicker. But the only way that I would do that is if it's a guy like Justin Tucker. Because I go into a draft saying, this is the only kicker or the only two kickers that I would actually waste, and maybe waste isn't the right word, or maybe it's the perfect word, a draft pick on. And I would probably say my top guy is Justin Tucker, just because this guy's got an absolute leg. And as far as the points that he put up last year, you can see he was at the high spectrum of things. He had 174 points compared to Matt Bryant's 176, who led the league in scoring for kickers. But that was in high part because the Falcons just had an amazing year. So I think you can kind of throw that out. But pretty much I would say for kickers, look for guys that play on offenses that are very high powered, because you're at least guaranteed a couple, extra points. If they stall, you're at least guaranteed, 3 points on a regular field goal, and then from there on out, 40 to 50 yards, 50 and above. And afterwards, I also look at, typically how powerful of kickers are these guys, because the beauty of having a guy like Justin Tucker is this guy drills 50-plus yard field goals, and you can see that last year he had 10 such field goals. And sometimes these kicks are far and few in between, but when they do come, man, they're a huge boost to your game, and they'll actually, surprisingly, sometimes in a close game get you a victory or get you a loss. But with that said, the only guys that I would actually pick up in a draft would probably be Tucker, Bryant, Gostkowski. He's on the Patriots. Vinatieri, the guy's been consistent throughout his storied NFL career. Bailey, he plays in the dome, so that's another thing to keep a lookout on. Look at the conditions of where these guys play. Do they play in an open stadium? Do they play in a closed stadium? Usually guys that play in a closed stadium don't have to deal with the conditions as much, so that's a boost for them. But for the most part, just know who can nail those far field goals. Know who is in those high octane offenses. And I would say sometimes people say, oh, these guys are going up against a stingy defense, but I say, strength of schedule for kickers, that's just a load of crap. Kickers is the one position where it's just a roll of the dice. You'll see all these rankings. Oh, the kickers that are in, that are out for this week, for the next week, based on their opponents. No, I don't subscribe to that, because, for one reason or another, they just might not be getting good field position. They just might not be settling for field goals. They might be just trying to convert on fourth down. So it's all just questions when it comes to the kicker position. But I've kind of gone through these rankings, and for the most part, I agree with the rankings. I would maybe list a guy like Crosby a little bit higher because he's with the Packers. Um, Matt Prater, he might be inconsistent, but he's got a good leg. Bailey, I like because he's in a dome. But let's just do a quick little, comparison to another ranking site, and that's this one right here at Scout Fantasy. And you'll see it's actually pretty similar. Justin Tucker is the #1 guy, and that's something that I'll say right now. The one kicker that I would value, and value again is a strong word, is Justin Tucker, because he's the most consistent and he's got the most power in his kicks. So I think he's a clear-cut #1 guy. Um, I don't know if that carries much weight when it comes to the kicker position, so mark that with an asterisk. But afterwards, you've got your typical guys again: Gostkowski, Bryant, Bailey, maybe a little bit mixed up in the ordering. This site values Crosby a little bit more, but you're seeing a guy like Santos again. Janikowski is a little bit higher here because I would presume because of the leg power again. But when it's all said and done, you can pretty much see that after the top 3 or top 4 guys, it's a crapshoot. And no matter what anyone says, for the most part, you'll be able to do week-to-week ads on the waiver wire. And at some point or another, you're going to have to do that because your top guy, or quote-unquote your top guy, will have a bye week. I'm probably in the minority for my upcoming drafts when I'll use maybe the 10th pick overall or something like that to get Justin Tucker or a Matt Bryant. But that's just me. I like to have that stability in the kicking game because I'm guessing that those two guys will probably separate themselves from the field by like 30 or 20 odd points. And I like to get every advantage I can. So with that being said, keep in mind that this is a position where anything can happen and everything is up for grabs and nothing is the same week in and week out. So there's been weeks where Tucker blows up for like 15, 16 points, and the week after he puts up like 4. So it's all variable. And with that being said, let me know what your guys' strategy is when it comes to kickers. I'd be very interested to find out. And maybe it's something similar to mine. Maybe it's a little bit different. But just let me know. And as always, if you enjoyed the video, like, subscribe, comment, and I'll try to make future videos a little bit better based on your comments. So thanks, and I'll see you in future vids.